Congratulations to you. What does this honour mean to you?
Well, I've got to say, initially I was rather surprised. I received an email in my inbox. Luckily I didn't delete it because it was a curious email that looked as though it should have been in the spam box. So when I opened it up and read the email, my initial reaction was I was surprised. And then reading it again, I've got to say I was quietly chuffed. I was chuffed and honoured that somebody in the community had put in the work and suggested me for this particular honorific.
You've a long list of credits to your name on both stage and screen. Do you have a proudest moment?
Oh, that's an interesting question. A proudest moment? Not a proudest moment. I have pieces of work in my, the back catalogue that I'm fonder of than others. There's some particular movies. Getting Square is a local film that I think still travels the distance. There's a number of characters and productions throughout my career that, I'm pretty fond of.
Tell us a few more of them.
Early ones are The Boys, which is a film that came from a stage play that I did, God knows how many years ago, probably 35 years ago or more, in a little theatre in King's Cross, which was The Griffin. Became a feature film directed by Rowan Woods, and that premiered at the Berlin Film Festival. I'm proud of the film, and that film sort of opened up doors for me internationally, so it was sort of significant. And then, many others.
How have you seen Australia's film and TV scene evolve during your career?
Oh, it's changed massively. The big change over my lifetime in the industry is the advent of streaming television. When I graduated from college years ago, there was a huge difference. And I trained as a theatre actor, so I took a left-hand turn very early on into screen. But when I did, there was a huge differential between big screen and small screen. And actors never really crossed over. And television back then was actually looked down upon in terms of, creative viewpoint. That has changed completely now. You have incredible people directing projects for television, and it seems to be that's the medium that people use to be entertained.
How does the creative community tell the story of Australia, and do you believe it does it well?
How does the creative community tell the story of Australia? I think it's impossible to do it on a macro scale, so you have to do it little bits by little bit, and all those little small piecemeal chunks will paint a lovely tapestry of what Australia is and who we are as Australians. I'm talking about performing arts at the moment, stage, television and film. The faces that you see now are far more representative of who we are at the moment than we probably were 20 years ago. So I think it's changing for the better.
And do you think that diversity you're referring to then changes the stories that we are telling?
I think the diversity in our screen culture at the moment is probably reflective of a more honest viewpoint of who we are. Something like 24% of our population are born overseas. So a quarter of our population are, they come with differences that we should celebrate. Australia Day, we should celebrate our commonalities, but we also should take the opportunity to celebrate the differences within our community, because that's the sort of thing that makes us truly unique.
Do you think Australians are invested in local stories, and does it show at the box office?
Yes, I do. And look, the box office, it's a tricky one, that one, because we make a whole variety of say, films. We go for the big screen. We go for big films like Elvis, which was shot here. Bizarre to think that is an Australian film, but it is. But then you go to the other end of the spectrum, where there's little niche art house films, which investigate issues that are only, of interest to a smaller proportion of the population, but they're still equally valid.
You've been an ambassador to the Wayside Chapel for nearly 20 years. Can you talk to us about your work with the homeless and what keeps you going back?
I was asked, I don't know how many years ago, something like 20 years ago, if I would become an ambassador for Wayside. At the time, and I lived just down the road, a few hundred metres from Wayside in King's Cross, the pastor who took over at the time, Graham Long, an incredible man who was recognised in the Australia Day Awards a few years ago, he decided to get the community involved. At the time, there was not great community support for that building or the people who lived on the street there. Graham Long, I think, changed that community in the most profound way. He got people like myself involved to spread the word of Wayside. He raised an incredible amount of money to develop that building into something that was habitable, and now it's a place where people can visit and people can be heard and people, can be listened to. People within the community of King's Cross, Potts Point now, don't look at people on the street as faceless people anymore. They look at people on the street, like a resident who passed away only just over a week ago, Auntie Rosie. People knew her, people spoke with her. She was an incredible woman, and her legacy, I think, is the fact that people within the community of King's Cross and Potts Point now actually engage with people on the street and don't treat them as faceless people, but they're people with faces and with a heart and with a history.
On a day like this, what does it mean to you to be Australian?
I feel thrilled to be recognised within quite a large group of people who have also been honoured. I happen to have a public profile. Most of the people who have been honoured today don't, but they have done extraordinary things within their own community. So I look forward to whenever the day is, when I go to the Government House and I can meet some of these people and hear their stories, because they're the people who make this place what we are. They're the people who make this country so rich.
On a day like this, do you spend any time reflecting on the divisions this day also causes in our community and the hurt that it does pose for some First Australians?
Undoubtedly. I don't think anybody in the country is unaware of the situation that this Australia Day, on this particular day, does actually cause a lot of hurt to people within our community, specifically First Nations people, with, understandably so. If there was an opportunity for it to be, acknowledged or celebrated on another day that brought everybody together, I think that would be a marvellous thing.
Now, David, you recently did a terrific interview series for the ABC, so I'm going to put you on the spot, or you get to judge me right now.
All right.
What is the question that you would ask you?
Oh, okay. That's a really tricky question.
What should I be asking you today that I'm...
Well, it depends, because this interview has a specific purpose. It's on this particular day. There's many questions that you could ask me that have never been asked, and that might be interesting, but today's not the day for that. I'm going to have to take that one on notice, I think, and come back to you next time I sit down and have a chat with you.
We're going to take that as a promise.
All right, I'm with you. I'll keep my promises.
David Wenham, congratulations. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.